Hi, guys. Welcome to the new OHM podcast. In today's episode, I'm talking to a good friend of mine, Zen Robinson. Now, he runs Maxout Media, and these guys have driven 8 figures, over $70 million in revenue. Primarily, they focus on Meta and TikTok advertising, and Zen has helped grow many brands in the e-commerce space. He's also launching his own e-com brand, and we'll be diving into that today. It's a nutrition supplement, and I'm excited to hear more. And in his spare time, he's an active MMA fan and practitioner, and gets up to a lot of interesting stuff there. Hey Zen, welcome.
Hi, it's good to be here. I appreciate you taking the time to do the podcast.
It's good to have you, man. So normally I kind of start these off by going into people's background, but I think for you, I'm really interested in the brand that you're building, and kind of what your plans are there. So do you mind just kicking off by giving us an overview of what you're doing there?
Yeah, sure. So obviously I've scaled many e-com brands before, so I thought it's about time that I actually just do it for myself and reap those rewards. And I am a big reason of kind of launching the brands. I want to use it as a learning process to understand the ins and outs of the other side of the shoe. So I'm going to kind of document the whole process and decentralize everything within the brand where I can, and then kind of teach the e-commerce brands, give it all away for free to all my clients, and really help them to sort of systemize and better understand their business by giving them templates for like P&Ls, showing them how they can leverage VAs for like overseas VAs for cheaper work. You'll know yourself, a lot of marketing agencies have like a marketer within their team, and all they really do is manage the social media. And in-house, we create the ads ourselves. So in terms of making content, that's covered. In terms of communication, they can pay someone $3 an hour to do that. And in terms of all the other little things that they're paying someone like 4K a month to do, I'm just going to build a system and decentralize everything within my own brand, and then basically show all the e-commerce brands that I'm working with exactly how they can kind of optimize their business from an operational level.
I think that's interesting, and I think you raised an interesting point there. Is a lot of agency owners, yes, they're good at kind of the one skill set that they have, but they don't really understand the kind of operational side of the business. And there's a lot of nuances that they miss out on because they don't have that experience. So I'm sure it will, massively help you as an agency owner and also your clients. How have you found it in terms of product creation and that side of the operation? How was that process for you?
Yeah, so this actually comes down to what I preach in marketing for brands and the selection of brands that I take on. So I've created a product that has like a market fit relevant to the time of the market. I've also solved a problem that other brands don't solve, and it's a problem that a lot of consumers will face. So it's what I've always found the most success to be within other brands, and I've worked with kind of similar brands in the past and got good results. So as I say, it's got a large audience base. I can dig deep within ICPs within that, so I've got a massive market I can go after, and also I'm solving a problem which is quite important. And most people face, probably like 60-70% of the population will face it. So I'm bringing a product that really solves those problems that that the other competitor brands don't, with new research was out in the market. So it's all like science backed.
Okay. So did you, when selecting the product, did you look at that product selection process through these frameworks of, demand, fit for the time, and kind of marketing angles?
Yeah, exactly. I looked at everything that I possibly could to bring the best product to market, and it did take me a long while to actually create the product, because the biggest headache for me in this whole process, because the marketing stuff I could do with my eyes closed, but deal with manufacturers is a headache. I had 11 calls with manufacturers from the UK, and it was honestly like speaking to children. It was really hard work, and I got upsold about 50 times throughout the whole process as well. But I was just like, I'm not going through any more headaches. I'm just paying it and getting the product out there. and I might actually be looking at other options for other manufacturers along the way. But I have a network, luckily, of e-commerce brand owners that I've worked with that can suggest other manufacturers for me and like shipping warehouse and stuff. So it's been good to be connected, because trial and error at this scale, and like when you're paying like a large amount of money for stock, is quite a risk. So as I say, it's been good to have a network of people who could point me in the right directions in terms of manufacturers and shipping providers. So I can now use that network and suggest that my own clients use that as well.
Sounds good. And I think, yeah, again, you now understand clients' pains more, right? Having gone through
Yeah,
that.
exactly. That was a
What,
big
what,
part of the process, because if I can understand brand owners and everything they go through, if I am one myself, it means I'll be able to resonate with them better, understand them, and kind of be better
yeah,
at selling to them as well.
for sure. One thing I do find interesting and I want to dig into is I know so you're not live yet. What we can say is that, it's a nutrition supplement that you're launching. Can you tell me roughly what the AOV will be of the product?
Yeah, it'll be about 49 pounds, and I will have like post purchase upsells and stuff.
So
Uh,
I wanted to touch on this kind of back end pieces. It is one product that you're going to launch with, but there's a back end. Can you just talk to me about the kind of lifetime value that's above that £49 and kind of what that feeds into and it allows you to do on the front end?
yeah, so obviously I don't have the exact data yet of the lifetime value, but it is a product that will have a subscription model on there, and it is a reoccurring product, which is another reason why I chose it. I wouldn't want to have a product that someone buys once and then doesn't buy again. So I'll have, obviously you're doing my emails, so I'll have stuff going out for buy it for a friend. I'll have seasonal stuff going out because they need it all the time, and I'll
Yeah.
also the product I provide does last a long time. So I will be really cross selling it hard, post purchase upselling it, saying like buy for a friend, buy stock up, get X amount off. Because as you'll know, once you've already paid to acquire that customer, you can offer them a discount, and it means that that discount is going to be less than what you paid to acquire that customer in the first place anyway. So it really gives you a good opportunity in the back end to give an immediate upsell, along with being able to cross sell it to other people.
Yep. And then I guess my final question on this is in 2024, what is, the outline of the launch process? How are you going to launch this brand?
Yeah, so I believe the stock comes in. It's actually estimated to come in within the next week. So I said to the manufacturer, "Look, if you can get me 10 SKUs first of all, so I can start marketing it and getting the creatives ready." So the first stage is finalising the website. It's already built out. I just need the post purchase upsells to be implemented there, and then I'll need to get all the creative plan ready. So I have kind of automated that process to some degree, but I also know it so well because I've done it so many times. So that won't take long. Just sourcing the influencers, which I do have a network for, I've already got a few in the pipeline, and also just making the video scripts and the content and growing the social media channels. I have someone that's going to manage that for me. So that's already done. I'm going to leverage overseas VAs to manage the communication within the social media channels. I don't want this to be a project that eats up all my time. So this is why I'm building this system, so that it all runs not without me, because I'll be managing the ads. I won't be letting someone else manage my own ads. So and that will be I'm hoping that will be one of the main time constraints and one of the only ones once it's all automated and systemated. I also want to have like a chat bot integrated into the website, so that manages communication and handles any objections for me. But I will have most objections that are possibly there already there, as that's just standard conversion rate practice. So there shouldn't be a lot of messages on there. But if there is, that's on there just to save myself time and the VA time. So that's kind of the process. I want to launch on TikTok, Facebook, Google, email to start with. And then I'll also create some form of influencer marketing strategy once it gets up and running. I want predictable sales channels to start with. I want to see exactly what my cost per acquisition is, what my profit margins is, that kind of thing. So basically building the foundations first and then going into the fancy stuff like influencer marketing that you can't predict, but once I have a positive cash flow, I can invest into those areas.
Okay. So just to clarify, it's using influencers and creators to get content initially. You'll then run that pretty much across all channels, right? Meta, TikTok, and Google. Is that Launchpad?
Yeah, so that is one part of the creative process. I'll also have like infographics of like us versus them. I'll have just standard images with like the solutions labeled on them. I'll have like
Right.
carousel, infographic carousels. Might have collection ads, that kind of thing. So I will be testing every kind of ad that is possibly out there, and I'm a big believer in stacking up all the ads, testing them together, rather than I'm a big advocate of like big launches rather than drip feeding the ad account. It's just not good for performance. So I'm going to go away, take a few weeks to really bulletproof a big creative plan, and then bring it to market.
And what would you say to people that say you should only focus on one traffic channel, one traffic source to launch a product? Why are you going kind of broader than that?
So you've got like different audiences on different platforms. So for a start, you're only reaching a portion of the audience that you can reach, and different platforms have different benefits. So like Google, the traffic is warmer, whereas because they're searching for the product generally. Whereas on TikTok, you've got lower advertising costs. Like it's more of an impulse decision platform. Facebook is obviously the meta, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm a bit biased, but I know for a fact I'll be able to scale TikTok and Facebook because they're primarily the channels that I run ads for my clients, and I've seen the data from other brands that don't have an efficient strategy as I will. So I'm pretty confident I'll be able to scale those two up pretty quickly. I have a media buyer for Google ready, and then obviously you're managing my email marketing. So yeah.
Is that a testing process across the different platforms, and will you double down on and maybe pick one that works, or are you going to aim to keep it as broad as possible as you scale?
So I'm very analytical in the sense that I'll spend where is performing the best. So if there's 2 or 3 ad groups on TikTok or 2 or 3 ad sets on Facebook, that's where the spend will go, where the highest monetary return is. So I would say it's more by individual assets rather than platform specific. So I might even only be spending, if it works out this way, I might spend like 50 on Google a day. I might spend 200 on Facebook. I might spend 1,000 on TikTok, just kind of wherever the data takes me.
Okay, makes sense. And look, I know you've kind of come to this brand point now, and you've been in the marketing game for quite a few years with the agency. Can you walk me back through that process? Like, how did you get involved? How did you get started with MediaBuy?
Yeah, sure. So it's an interesting journey. I started in 2018. It was ran ads. I was a personal trainer and S&C coach, so I ran ads for my own business first. Bought a course called OHM, I'm sure it was called, which was actually a really good course back then. And I think it was like £500, and that was a lot of money to be back then. And I signed 12 clients within like my first month, and I was charging like £150 a month for online coaching, and I thought I was rich then. I was walking around the gym with a big smile on my face. And what's that?
Young Hormozy.
Yeah, young Hormozy, making like a few grand a month. But yeah, then I started running ads because all the local gyms and PTs were seeing that I was like getting a lot of success and I was well connected in the area, and they were like, "Oh, I see you're getting loads of clients. Can you do it for us?" So I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then pretty quickly, I was like, "Oh, this is well overtaking my personal training income." So I made the shift in, I think it was November 2020, um, to completely ecom because
Okay.
I was doing it for the gyms and coaches, left my PT job, and then in 2020 I transitioned to ecom, started working for e-commerce agencies on a freelance basis. And
Why did you make that pivot? Sorry, what made you switch?
I think it was the iMan course. Yeah, it
Okay.
was the iMan's course which first got me into it because I kept seeing all his videos, and then I got the course. Back then, it wasn't that great. I don't know how good his courses are now, but it was enough to get me started anyway. So
Yeah.
started reaching out to brands and also e-commerce agencies, and I realized pretty quickly that I don't like sitting all day sending manual outreach. Obviously, we've got like Instantly and stuff now, but back then, Instantly wasn't really a known thing. It was all like manual.
Yeah.
So realized it's really easy to sign e-commerce brand owners to partner up with to run their ads rather than reaching out all day. I can just reach out to a few agencies, get a few partnerships. Started working with like a few e-commerce agencies like Powered Media, Adam, and a few others, and that was all fine and good. Enjoyed that. Was really easy to get results before the iOS update, and then when the iOS update hit, like everything didn't go to shit, but it became a lot harder to get results. And when I was working with some of these agencies, I was kind of like an acting freelance CMO role. So I was also managing their teams and overseeing, like, sometimes it was for
Yeah.
one agency at one point, I was managing like 15 accounts, and I
Wow.
was overseeing like 30 of the other accounts
Wow.
from a CMO perspective. So I was grinding hard. But when the iOS update hit, and honestly, managing these teams was the biggest headache I've ever had. So that in combination with the iOS update when that hit caused me not to be able to sleep at night because people weren't getting results because of the clients I was managing myself were, but
Hmm.
the teams I was managing and the media buyers, it was a really big headache because for a job that's so analytical, you just didn't have attention to detail, and it's so hard to find people to do. And I was
They
helping.
couldn't adjust to the new way, the new
What's that?
methods. Could they not adjust to the new methods?
Yeah, it wasn't even that. It was more that their ability wasn't strong enough at that time.
Mhm.
So the new methods was just the methods that have always been there, but you could get away with not being as efficient back then. So very quickly after that, I wanted to start sleeping again at night, so I just left that model and made like a consultancy boutique agency, and now we only manage up to 10 clients at a time, and it's all like really high level stuff. It's not just the ads, it's like we look at every data point available and we give suggestions and implement ourselves the processes to improve those. So for example, if someone has a low add to cart rate or low AOV, we'll give them solutions to improve that. So that's kind of the full funnel perspective is what needs to be analysed deeply on an ads perspective. Whereas before, these media buyers, and I'm going to say bold statement, but from working with so many agencies, I can make this statement because I've got the data. I'm going to say like 90% of advertisers out there that I've at least that I've seen get the creatives, write the copy, post the ads. That's literally it. They say, "Oh, ad performance is starting to decrease. Can we get some new creatives?" That's literally it. They don't say like, "This is the ICP and demographic that are best performing. We need to, and this is the angle, this is the hook, this is the problem that your product solves. Out of the three, this is the best one. We need to start creating ads for this and targeting them directly." That's like the kind of creative and ads process, like at a very high level that people need to understand. But a lot of agencies and anyone watching this podcast who is an e-commerce brand will probably understand this. Just ask for new creatives, and that's kind of what was happening with these teams I was managing. I was just like, yeah, I need to get out of here pretty quickly.
Yeah. So there's almost like a full funnel structure that you need to own from kind of the ideation, obviously then the kind of creative and media buying process, but then also on the the further down the funnel, consulting on landing page setup, upsells, all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not enough to just work on the platform anymore. You need a solution for the whole business.
So that was that the transition that took place after the iOS updates. Is before you could just do the media buying, and now you have to do kind of the full stack.
Yeah, I'd say that's exactly it. Obviously, if you've done the full stack in the first place, which I've always done, it's going to deliver better results. But yeah, definitely, that was a switch between are you going to be profitable doing the bare minimum, probably, or possibly, and after the iOS update, it's like you need to do it all.
No, yeah, no, that makes sense. Moving on, how did you find the transition from freelancer working in house at a couple of agencies to building your own agency?
So at the start, it was a little bit slow signing clients. Like I'd say in the until like a year ago, all my clients were just referrals, and I was lucky in the sense that when I left these agencies, pretty much all the brands reached out to me and said, "Can you run our ads?" Because ads have dropped off, and I I am in a position where I don't want to be signing any clients from the agencies I worked with before,
Mm-hmm.
but in the reverse, I don't want these e-commerce brands to lose their business because they can't find a media buyer who can get results. So I did take on a few agencies. I definitely didn't reach out to them, but the ones that reached out to me, I gave it 3 months. I said,
Yeah,
"All right, stay with the agency for 3 months. If they can't get results, I'll take you back on." And that happened with quite a lot of brands. So that kind of filled my pipeline up with clients.
yeah,
And I've always been sat around like the 9 or 10 client mark. So I've not really had that problem, but I am, as of recently, trying to completely decentralize the business so that I can get to a point where, because I'm training up a creative editor at the moment that is doing a really good job, and she's like writing the copy, she's making the scripts, she's
yeah.
creating the videos, she's using AI within the videos to use voiceovers to really get the message across. She's doing it all. So I'm going to decentralize the media buying process so that she has that system and can kind of open up my capacity for another 10 clients. But once that's done, that's me. I don't want any more than 20 brands to ever manage. And at this point, I'm happy with 10. I did take a big drop in wage, switching that business model, but I'm willing to take that drop to be able to sleep at night
No,
because some of these agencies were paying me like 10K a month to consult for their media buying teams and their clients. So yeah, that's kind of how the process went.
interesting. So aside from the kind of sales and front end, is there any other parts of the agency life that you not necessarily struggle with, but you found difficult transitioning to?
I wouldn't say anything was difficult. There was quite a lot of tasks that I had to implement. So, for example, none of these agencies had like an efficient reporting software in place. So I had to build that out. I had to build out like the automation of the onboarding funnel, really creating resources that solve all the objections and also all the problems that the clients have. I
Yeah,
had to kind of build those out. Uh, when I was working with the agencies before, everything was manual, so it was time consuming. Whereas now I'm just creating a resource for everything that anyone will ever ask me.
system.
And yeah, exactly, systemizing. I'm just working. That's kind of what my main focus has been, apart from delivering a top service
Yeah.
as of the last few months.
No, that's interesting. And then look more specifically in terms of media buying. How do you view the platforms in 2024? And I guess for kind of reference, your main focus is Meta and TikTok, right?
Yeah, to be honest, even when the iOS update hit, it's like I'd say like 90% of the clients I was working with, yeah, about 90% of the clients I was working with were still profitable. So I've never really had like a big problem with any platform. I think they're all good. Like obviously you've got different benefits from different platforms. Like clients that are selling products that aren't too expensive. TikTok Shop is killing it at the moment because obviously you've got like lightning fast load times. You've
Yeah,
got 100% tracking because it's native on the platform. You've got like a seamless checkout process as well. So there's benefits to TikTok. You've also got the fact that you always run Spark ads. I only ever suggest that you run Spark ads, which basically link directly to the posts on your social media channels. So it's huge for social proof. So you can, and there's like a multiply effect between your organic and paid when you're running these Spark ads. So it's so easy to use like trending content, go viral in there, and like sometimes you'll even find that your ad spend is matched in terms of impressions by the organic content that we create for ads. So there, it's such a good platform at the moment. And then Facebook is just Facebook. It's always been good. So the CPMS aren't too bad as well. The advertising costs aren't too bad on either platform. So we've got well, yeah, we work. I won't name them, but we've got a client that we work with together that has a really low AOV, but still has like a 4 ROAS some months.
Yeah.
So it's even though the advertising costs are not that different to what they've always been, you can still reach enough people and make profit even with an AOV of like 20. So I think that alone, along with being able to do it for a lot of other clients, has much validation that the platforms still work.
Okay. So a lot of people are quite bearish about the state of paid social in 2024, and it's interesting that you don't seem to think that. Is that because you're looking at it from a kind of full funnel approach?
Yeah. So the reason they'll probably be bearish on it is because of their marketer, probably.
Yeah.
Like I've been on a mission for ever since iOS update, and maybe even before then, to put to bed that whole I've been burnt in the past conversation because it comes up so often, and I literally have in my introduction deck that I run through in sales calls exactly why they've been burnt in the past because I already know that they're going to say it. So I'm handling that objection on the call before they even say it at the end of the call because I've just you know what the marketers, media buyers are like.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find a golden nugget, and if I ever find one, I'll be hiring them straight away.
I like that. I think my next question is around, how does the process change based on the size of the brand? So are there kind of categories or buckets that brands fall under? And what should they be doing to kind of scale to the next level, as it were?
So in terms of revenue,
Yeah. So is it, 0 to 50K brands should be just testing as much creative as possible? 50 to 100K, what are they doing? And things like that.
yeah. So we've actually discussed this a little bit in the past. So the first off, if you're making under 50K, like if you've got the budget for an omnipresence top tier marketer, fair enough. But sometimes if they're doing like 10K, it might just make sense to start on the platform their audience is most active on and just scaling that up. And as you'll know, like it might not make sense to invest into certain platforms like Google. I usually find is better for slightly bigger brands that have the budget to compete with the big boys. Whereas like TikTok for a new brand with a low AOV might work better than Facebook. So it depends on the revenue, the AOV, what their kind of back end system is. It's funny. I actually just signed a tanning brand yesterday, and we have like such a complicated process already. So like they buy this, and I've mapped it all out. Like they haven't even filled out their onboarding form. This was just on the sales call, but we essentially mapped out that like this is your highest AOV product. So we're going to start, and she signed on Facebook and TikTok combined, and she's doing 10K a month. So as I say, like she's right in the beginning stages of the brand, but
Yeah.
she's still making that investment into um, two platforms, which I think is perfect. And then as she kind of scales up a little bit, going back to the kind of funnel, so like she's got like a $99 product, which is it. The reason I actually signed her is because this product there's only one company in the US that sell it, and it solves a problem that other like tannin products don't. So it's
Can
amazing.
I stop you there because I think that's hugely important, right? Is one is having a moat around the product, and two, problem solution. If you can dig on like a pain point or something that people are struggling with, that's great in advertising, right?
Yeah, 100%. And the exclusivity of it as well, the fact that like no one else is selling it, and the fact that, as you say, it solves a problem that other products don't. I think this is huge, and I'm going to be shouting that from the rooftops in the marketing. So we'll sell that, but there's also like different products. Like if they're traveling, they'll need this product. For like to enhance the product, they need this product. So we're going to implement like post purchase upsells. We're going to like cross sell and retargeting. We're going to hopefully get you on board in one day to do this process for us in email. So as I say, like someone that's doing under 10K, it makes sense for them to acquire new customers. They need new customers. That's the biggest constraint. But they also need to have that back end system. So this is where like one off build, like if they can't afford like an expensive email fee, like a one off build, I would
Yeah.
suggest them to come to you for a one off build to get that back end system built out. And then if they can afford like the monthly fee, then obviously it would make sense. Just because if they're at that beginning stage of the brand and they're making 10K and they're paying me, I'm not going to say the exact number, but a portion of that, and then they have to pay like another portion towards email marketing, they might not get that ROI on the front end if they're doing less than 10K. Whereas a one off build would give them that system that they can have forever. And then when they're ready to make a good ROI, then they can obviously hire someone to like build out the campaigns on a frequent basis and really utilize that audience that has been built up from
Yeah.
the ads.
So it's kind of initial stages focus on traffic, which is go where the demographic is, or go where the product is suited. Step two is, I guess, that kind of back end customer journey. And then step three is kind of Google and kind of broadening to other platforms. Is there anything else of kind of other stages that come later once brands have scaled up that they should start to kind of undertake?
Yeah, so the biggest constraint for scaling on ads is usually not always is usually lack of creatives.
Okay.
So we actually solve that problem in house, and we completely manage the process. So we'll go away and say to them, "All right, when are your next shoots coming up? We would like this, this, and this. These are the scripts. Like this is what should be included in the video." And we are always on their case. They've always got tasks outstanding for creatives. Like this is the biggest thing that can help scale a brand, because they need that horizontal base. If they vertically scale just a few assets, it's not enough. Like you'll reach creative fatigue. If one of them dies, all the ads like could potentially die at one point if you've only got a few, and it's just not a stable scaling approach. So I say like I set them like targets for each month, saying like we need this amount of videos. These are the videos we want. These are the images. These are the carousels, etc. And then I'll also give them tasks to improve, like the little things that the little friction points. So, for example, if their add to cart rate isn't high enough, I'll say, all right, we need to do this. If their bounce rate is higher than it should be, I'll say, all right, we need to speed up the website. And all these things I'll give a solution for and implement myself or with a web developer. So I think once they reach that 50 to 100K mark, you really need to make sure like every part of the funnel is optimized as well as it can be. I
Yeah.
think creatives first ads approach, which is something I've always preached and what we talk about, need to make sure those creatives are coming in on a regular basis, so we've got that horizontal base to scale. I think obviously a retention marketing strategy for cross selling, and it needs to be like as you'll know yourself, you do this. It needs to be like product specific, needs to be collection specific, needs to have like a wide range of campaigns. You'll know more than me about that one. So I don't think there's too much else that actually needs to be done off platform. Like influencer marketing is very hard to track the ROI,
Yeah.
but building social proof at a higher level is something that I class is important in the next stage. So having like known faces in the ads, like getting someone to get you featured in publications,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Like if it's like a fashion brand, going into showrooms, fashion week, presenting your product to the market there, finding more wholesale partnerships if that's a goal for them, unless they're completely D2C. So they're the kind of steps I see is once you've done that, this is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also it also depends on the goals for the brand. I always ask brands this, I'm like, do you want to sell it or do you want to make money
Yeah.
from it? Because if they want to sell it,
It's
then I'll
two
say,
ends of the spectrum, right?
yeah, exactly. So if they want to sell it, I'll say, let's literally break even and just scale like crazy. Whereas if
Yeah.
they want to take dividends from the company, I'll say, all right, we'll just be as profitable as possible. Obviously, that's the goal all the time, but it just has an impact on how fast and hard we can scale.
Yeah.
Because we could increase the budget to 1 to 5,000 a day, and we could make good profit from that. But if they want to sell it, we want to get up to like 5 to 10 grand a day and break even.
Mhm. Okay. No, that makes sense. Going back to the creative point, because I think once you've got that initial traction on paid social, that seems to be the most important piece of the jigsaw. What do you like? Like, what kind of creatives are you seeing work well in 2024?
So in terms of the type of creative, it can be like image, video. It doesn't actually matter on the format itself. It's more just following standard, I would say standard foundational marketing principles, to be honest. Like problem, agitate, solution, social proof, good call to action. I always say it needs to be a call to benefit, not a call to action. So um, instead of just saying like shop now, you can say like shop now to get X outcome. So I
Okay.
think the creative itself is very important that it follows these foundational marketing strategies that have always been there. And I think,
Will you test different angles for each of those strategies? Is
yeah,
that kind of the initial stage and then scale from
yeah,
there?
yeah, definitely. So the different kind of angles I would have would be like the hook. And I'm only ever testing one variable at a time. So I'd have the hook. So usually that's where I'd start. So this hook can be used to identify the ICP. It can be used to solve a specific problem. I never want to stack all the problems in the beginning stages because I want to identify like what problem or outcome this product is solving for the market and
Yeah.
what they're actually buying it for. Whereas if we just like stack them all out, like there's a place and time for that, and we probably will test that out the gates as well. But we want to find out the reason why people are buying, and this can be filtered on the naming convention on the actual ad level, which a lot of people don't actually know or do. In fact, I've never seen it in all my time. So the way I structure the naming convention, which allows me to identify the ICPs for the creatives themselves and for like, well, the demographic would be on the ad set level and the analytics. But I'll say like copy variation one, video one, image one, whatever it may be. Then I'll have like ICP and then I'll have the name of the ICP. So if we're selling, let's say, clothes to pregnant women, in fact, that that's not a good example because that is the ICP, and it probably won't be any others we can test if that's the case. But if we're selling like a product that has a specific that solves a problem, if we have a test of what ICP best resonates, so let's use a sleep product for example.
Yeah.
So if I'm trying to sell something that improves people's sleep, I could target athletes to improve their performance. I could target business people, businessmen, businesswomen to improve their performance. So, like obviously, the ICP is the business women or men, and then
Yeah.
the problem is like their performance. I could be targeting like mums to keep up with their kids because they don't have enough energy, like
Yeah.
ICP being mums. So I can then filter out over time on the naming convention what ICP is best resonating, what problem that we are providing the solution for is best resonating. Like
Okay.
obviously this is a very broad example. If it was a fashion brand, like we can do that for fashion brands as well. But sometimes you just need to make them look good.
Yeah.
So
You're
obviously,
trying to speak to the demographic directly with the messaging in the ad, and then filter by the most successful ones, and I guess the largest demographics as well.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so many variables, but we're living in a world where people are. That sounded a bit deep. Basically, the current landscape of the market is like broad is best,
Hmm.
and I agree that broad targeting more often than not works best, but the targeting happens on the ad level.
That's
So
interesting. So it's now targeting with creative rather than with the media buying tips and tricks on the kind of back end.
yeah, exactly. That's
Okay.
that's exactly it. So like if one box isn't ticked correctly on your campaign ad set or ad, that's enough to throw off the whole thing. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like the importance of the creative targeting these people is important, but it
Yeah.
also can be represented on the targeting. So it's not just broadworks. You if you have like a demographic or an age range which is really resonating with the target audience or your ICP, the people you want to sell to, then you can target them. It doesn't need to be broad. You can target them on the ad set level, and that sometimes will work better. So, like, I'm not saying that broad is always the way. It's not. It's not always the way in anything, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So creative is king. I think that's the message kind of loud and clear there. Final question on this is what do you think is coming for the rest of 2024 in the e-commerce landscape?
Well, e-commerce as a market is expected to grow this year. So I do believe that well, the data suggests that sales will rise. So I think the current sort of landscape is good, and I also think that advertisers are dropping out in terms of the volume of agencies, the volume of e-commerce brands. I think
Yeah.
the volume of growth in terms of new companies and such is decreasing. So I
The
think
shiny object has moved somewhere else, right?
what's that? Sorry,
The shiny object has moved somewhere else.
move to AI, but a combination of like moving somewhere else and also the fact that since the iOS update hit, a lot of e-commerce brands are failing because
Yeah.
they either can't get their message across in the right way with the right market, or they just their product might not even be good enough to be able to sell in this landscape. So a combination of those, but I'm enjoying it at the moment. I have no plans to leave anytime soon, and feel like it's still an amazing business model for me and for my clients. They're reaping the rewards. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty happy with it with the current market.
No, that's interesting. So I think this is something certainly I see as well is like the best brands are winning and scaling. And in the past, you didn't have to be the best brand for that to be the case. But now I think the market is a lot tougher. And you have to, as you said, have the whole funnel filled out. And you have to be constantly testing new things and kind of pushing things forward. So there's no room for laziness. But Zen, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And I wish you all the best with your brand that you're launching soon and the agency going forward. Good luck and thank you.
Appreciate it.